Good morning. I will show you how to georeference an image. First, let's get the image from a source online. Here is the climate database. I will create a Mars map in Mars map, and you could download this, but as you can see there are different labels here which will be not needed in the georeferencing, so I will make a screenshot. I did the screenshot using the screenshot print screen button. So I go to Photoshop and create a new file. And using the edit paste menu, I will insert this image here. And I retain all data in the image file, so I crop using the crop tool. I crop this image and save it as picture 1 in JPEG and as maximum quality, but not the highest quality format. I will also make another image instead of this projection using a different projection. So that was the projections. It's so-called flat projection. It's a plate carré or equirectangular projection, cylindrical. I change it to North Pole, which will create a polar stereographic projection around the North Pole. And I will do the same print screen and create a new canvas and save. But first, paste, Ctrl V, crop, enter, file, save as, and here's picture 2 in JPEG. So I have two pictures now in two different projections. This, by the way, shows the temperature of Mars at noon, no, it's not noon, at midnight, at 10 meters altitude in the northern winter on Mars. So I close, if I can, Photoshop to save some memory. I also close Opera and focus on ArcMap. I already started ArcMap with a Mars background, Mola, grayscale, DTM as a reference for me. So I will now add these, not these two images, just the first image, because this layer, if you right click and see the properties, you will see the projection. You should have the same projection as the image you want to georeference. And the projection here is a similarly, it's not a Mercator, that's different. It's a plate carré or cylindrical simple projection, but let's see another one. It's projected to plate carré, which is a simple cylindrical projection with equal distances between equal numbers of degrees. So 10 degree in each direction will have the same distance in centimeters or in pixels. That grid, we can get rid of that grid, but if you change this to 10-degree grid, you will also see that this is really similar distance in all latitudes. The equator is missing here. I put the equator to this layer along with the Arctic Circle, the North tropics, and the southern Antarctic Circle and the southern tropic on Mars. So that's the plate carré's projection. So now you add, which is called flat in this Mars climate database. If you add now the pictures that we saved, picture 1 was in the same projection, so we add it now. It says it's not georeference, it's missing spatial reference. We know that because we want to georeference it. It shouldn't take that long, it's just so slow because I'm recording it on the screen. So picture 1 is here, already added, but where is the picture? It's not displayed. So if you go to the picture and right click, not here, but right click on the picture and zoom to layer, it will zoom to that layer, no matter how small or large the picture is or where it is. You see, it's a very small size relative to the original because it doesn't know how to put it, how to locate it. You see here in the degrees, it's somewhere in the middle of the picture, but it's very small. So if you want to georeference, open the georeferencing tool. You can find this tool in the toolbar menu and find the georeferencing. It should be in your license included. If it's not, then you should change the license. By the way, my license will expire in two days. So in georeferencing, it's very important that you select the picture you want to georeference. All the pictures are listed here. You shouldn't, I always mix it. You shouldn't georeference an image that is not displayed, but you could. If you select here the wrong picture, then you will georeference the wrong one. So always make sure that the right picture is selected. And using these control points, these cross-shaped control points, first select the upper, you just need 4 reference points here, the 4 corners, because the projection is known. So if you select the upper right corner of this image, more or less precisely, like this, you click on that. You go back to the original pictures layer, MOLA, right click, and you zoom to layer. It zooms out to see the entire image. And you click to the same point, the upper, not right, the upper left corner. You can zoom in to make a more precise location, but for this purpose, it's good. You go back, zoom to layer, and you repeat this using each of the four corners. Now the upper right will be the second reference point. Go back to the original mola that is already georeferenced. Of course, the upper right corner is at 90 degrees north latitude and 180, which is the most problematic coordinate you can have. ArcGIS cannot really handle these extreme ends of the coordinate system, but here it should work. That's the lower right. It's better if you're a little bit inside the picture and not outside, because then you will be outside the boundaries of existing coordinates and it might give you a very strange projection. That's the last one, the lower right corner. And now you're ready with georeferencing, so you update georeferencing. After you have updated, it's in the right place. It should be in the right place, although the marginal information is still displayed but outside the coordinate boundaries. You will not use it, but it's still useful to see everything here. So here you can, once you updated georeferencing, the updated information, the geo information, will be saved either within the files. If the file is a TIFF file, it will be saved in the TIFF file. If it's a JPEG, extra information cannot be saved within the JPEG file. It will create it, but it will be saved next to the JPEG file in other files. So if you open some file manager and locate that picture, you will find some XML image and this. Well, it seems that there's this JPEG which saved the information. JGWX extension. You see that these are probably the corner points in meters or in some other unit, probably meters. You see that it's not at all exact, it's not correctly georeferenced, in fact, because it should be 0. The upper left corner should be 0, 0, but it's not. And the XML contains the same information. See that here are the different different data for the 4 corners that we georeferenced. So if you want to make it really correctly, then you are not using this control point method, but you are using a table. Clicking here, that where you can enter the coordinates manually. It's really not looking good, but since it's the unit is clearly not degree, but probably meters. It's good for just this making draft maps. We just want to make a draft map, not an exact georeferencing. For this draft, it's okay. So now, for example, if you want to pick or copy from this map some locations or data, I usually do it this way. You can use it, you can create new layers new shapefiles using the catalog, but I usually do using the drawing menu. If I want to make a point layer, like I want to point to the hottest or warmest point on Mars at that time, I click here. That's an approximate location for that. I have this one, and if I don't edit anything, so the editor is not active, then you could convert this point to feature, which may create a feature layer where you can add more points. A point feature layer, you can select the place for this feature layer, like I say test1, a shapefile, and automatically delete the graphics after conversion. So it will remove this graphic. And yes, let's add this layer here. It will add the new layer that can only contain point features like this. So from now on, if you want to edit this layer and add more points later, in the create feature window, it will appear, and you can click on it, well, yes, and create more points or move these points. Similarly, if you want to create a new layer with lines, polylines, you stop editing. I don't need these changes. You stop editing and you will create a line instead of the point, like you want to trace or delineate the warmest part of Mars. And then create a new feature layer from that, which will in this case use only lines. You cannot add points here, just lines. Test2, delete the original and add this layer to the top of the layers. So we have this new line layer, test2, and you can add new lines, but it will be georeferenced. That's what we did. We just georeference this line. You can turn it on and off. Now we will change the projection because we want to add information from the stereographic polar projection map. So we will change this map to stereographic north. You see that it's a, you don't see that. You see that it's already set to stereographic, and the latitude of origin is 90 degrees, so it will show the North Pole, and you see that the unit is meter, and that's why those numbers were in meter. So it will change the projection. Since the previous map is already georeferenced, it will take the georeference layer and also change the projection. And you see that the point that we make will stay in its original location, so it will be it should be somewhere here. Here's the green point, and here's the line. I didn't close that line. But now the good thing is that we can add that layer from the stereographic map that we created, that we saved from the climate database. It was picture 2. So you add this, and the same way as previously, it's not georeference, so it's in a very odd place, but if you zoom to this layer, you will be able to see it and work with it. You see that it put to the origo, the North Pole, but in a very small size. Well, not, yes. So we can select this picture for georeferencing. These different colors appear because there are several raster layers here. I should have turned them off. So the middle point, the I need to zoom into the middle, the center. So I will use the center point as one control point, which should be, it's really approximate, should be somewhere here, and zoom back to the georeferenced mola background layer and click on the center. I really need to zoom into this point because otherwise it will be not very nicely referenced. And you can correct this in the table if you want to. So if this first point is not correctly set, then you can make it 0, 0 by double clicking. Sorry, not here. That's the XY is it's the picture. So I just ruined this thing. I'm not sure if it can be undone. The X map is on the map, the georeferenced one. That's the error. And that's the image, the raster image source. Probably there's no way to change it back. But if you fast forward in this video, yes, it deleted everything. You will see the results. Usually you have simple cylindrical projection like the previous one, very rarely polar projection. We are looking for picture 2. Yes, with this undo, I just removed picture 2. So let's add it again. And let's zoom to that ungeoreferenced image. Like I said, this is a very rough georeferencing. It shouldn't be used for purposes where you really want to get precise measurements. We just making a draft here, and we'll use these images as that's the new center, as hints for finding the locations. On the actual images later. So we now, you see that's what I was talking about. I forgot to set the image layer, so I georeferenced the wrong image. In fact, I created I misgeoreferenced a previously correctly georeferenced image, which I should undo. So that's if you press usually it should work, but so the snapping option is on. That's why it snaps to the grid lines. So let me turn this off. If you press the space key, usually it doesn't snap, but now for some reason it did. Somewhere here, it's the middle, you turn back the grid. This grid is added as a grid layer. It's not the grid that's built into ArcGIS. It's just lines, georeference lines I downloaded from the internet. So then you can see here, and you can also see here the center of the original one. So it should move this image to the right center. And now you can add another control point. Which is, it's 15 south. So it should be 0, 15, 30, 45 perhaps. So this coordinate should be 15 north. here, and it's already georeferenced, so we can use that. And we try to locate this 15 north. It should be here. That's the latitude very close to the Olympus Mons mountain, which was there. So 15 north, you can see here where it is. This is 15 north. So picture 2 and 15 somewhere here. And as you see, it's already there. So if you zoom out, you will see if you need any more control point, or that's enough. Use just 2 control points. But I think more or less that's sufficient. You see that it's the same. Update. Once you update it, next time you open this image from the same location, not deleting the extra files it created, it will be georeferenced. And now we can go back to the original projection. Like I said, this is just for tracing draft lines that you will correct later. So we go back to this plate carré, or in other words, simple cylindrical projection. And now both of these photoshopped maps will be georeferenced. And we turn off the grid and we zoom in. You see that for the polar projection Photoshop image, the marginal data is also georeferenced, but more or less it looks good. It's where it should be. If you turn on the grid, you can check if the lines are at the correct locations. They are not really. The longitudes are okay, but the latitudes are a little bit off. So you should correct that later. Interesting. So this is the top of Olympus Mons. It's in the correct place. It is in the correct place, which suggests, yes, they are not off. They are just 15, and so this is a 10-degree grid, and this is 15th, and this is 30. So it's okay. It's more or less in the middle of these lines, so it's okay. So that's it, and you have now the 2 pictures that you can, if you want to export as a new image, export data. This is georeferenced if you need it for any purpose. TIFF is, if you save it in TIFF, the georeferencing information will be built into the TIFF file. It's here already. You see that it's not, doesn't start with 00. So you can save it in TIFF, both files. Here's the other. But for this work that you will create, you don't need this. You just need these shape files that you created from using traced from these files, so these lines and points. So please make the lines and points. Georeference these files, all the maps from all the publications where you can find any information on the locations of patterned ground, and delineate or trace these lines in the georeferenced image, and that will be the first file that we will start working with, correcting these lines, and adding new data, new locations. You can also do it for high-rise images. You mentioned that you collected the high-rise images whose title contain the words pattern ground. That's very good. Make a point file showing the points of these high-res data in the georeferenced image, and then you can start zooming into these points and zooming out from the high-rise to delineate, to trace the outlines of those patterned ground regions. They may be merged, so two neighboring high-rise images may be showing patterned ground of the same area, of the same patterned ground area. So then 2 points will become one outline. So make outlines of the point. That's the next phase. And then we will have a map of the regions, not just the points, but the regions of patterned ground. And then while you are viewing the images of these regions, you can take notes about the pattern ground type, if it's very large or small or circular or polygonal, using the attribute tables. So if you open the attribute table of any of these layers, you could add data. For example, here's this one outline. Let's add the second outline. Right click, edit features, start editing. So now you have two rows here, and if you add the name type 1 here, and you add type 2 or whatever you want to add, you can add any kind of information. You can add several different kinds of information. Then you can display only type 1 or only type 2, and you can work with that. You can calculate the areas and so on and so on. If you need more types of information for each feature, then you stop editing, you save the changes, and you can add new columns here, only if the editor is not active. You add the field, which is a column, you add some simple name, and if it's a number, then you can have short integer. If it's a longer number, or more complex, long or float is for numbers with decimals, and text up to 50 characters, but I don't need 50, maybe just 15, and then it will create a new column here that you can use for identifying different characteristics of that feature that you delineated. Okay, That's it. Thank you.